Hello. Nice to see you, Mehmet. Okay, so now let's see. What have you said? Thank you. Apple. Hi. Nice to have you here. Okay, so I would love that. Bring it on. I mean, I've got a little bit of tea, but probably a little bit more would not go amiss. Okay, so what we're doing is we're going to have a look at improving type support in Nuxt and Nitro. And as part of the last update, we added a server TS config, which had the ability to specifically declare types for the server side. But there was one problem. And the problem was there are some things that it did not accurately create for us. So it's basically enabled by doing this. Oh, Fending, hi. And this is a pnpm install and pnpm build stub, I think is what we want to do. And basically it generates a TS config for us, and we can then access that and use it in our server routes. But there are a couple of problems. One, we have a sort of missing import aliases. So it doesn't know about these aliases because they're not included. And another is that it doesn't augment process. So we don't have some of the types that are available in Nitro because of what Nuxt does. So we recently shipped a fix in Nitro itself here, which basically enables us to customize the generated TS config with whatever we might need to do. So this allows Nuxt to pass, and you, to pass a TS config option to TypeScript. And so we want to be able to do that. And I think we can quite quickly improve the experience today by passing some options. So we basically want to add some default TS config options and install everything. Yeah. So the first thing we need to do, this is not available on the latest Nitro release. So we actually need to add a resolution to our project, which is fine. We do this all the time. So let's just add a little NitroPack, npm NitroPack edge at latest, although I don't trust latest. I always want to actually pin it to something because that's going to be considerably more accurate. And yeah, the other way just has enormous potential for going wrong. So I'll just pop that in and we'll reinstall. Also, it seems to me that this isn't properly typed. So as Nitro config, I think is what we want. Not as, but satisfies. There we go. So that should actually now tell us, yeah, what it might be. And that wasn't being typed before, interestingly. Yeah, we should definitely not be doing this. Okay. Interesting. Imports are incompatible. Okay, looks like there's some issues here. I don't know how much of this is due, these are actual issues that this is flagged up, which would be fantastic if it has, and how much of this might be something else. A string, false, regular expression. What's the issue here? Because interesting. There we go. Right, and now we need to be able to to apply our generated tsconfig. So why is that not respecting it? Let's just confirm. We need to customize our generated tsconfig. We have it defined here. And we should also have a type defined here. So it might just be we need to restart our TS server and see. But basically, we're going to want to add a couple of things to our tsconfig. We're going to want to add our aliases. We're going to want to add some augmentations. Of our own. And I think that's probably it for now. Okay, and this is now still not recognized. What's this complaining about? Imports, Boolean or nullish is not assignable to Boolean or undefined. Okay, so we basically need to set auto import is auto import, and it wants it to be undefined if it doesn't exist. So I think that, no? Let's try it the other way around. Interesting. Let's see. Okay, that's something we can sort out in a second. Okay, right. The first thing we need to do is add aliasing support. So we have our, it's probably going to be easier not to do it in line, but to initialize it to an empty object and then configure it in a second. So we'll want to do this. Add nuxt aliases to Nitro tsconfig. And basically we can do that with, these are our to-dos. Okay. And so we're going to iterate over them. So we have our alias here. And basically we can probably do this by directly iterating over these aliases. This is expected actually because of Nitro's pulling in a newer version of rollup than Vite is. So I think we can ignore that safely. This is basically just work done in advance of the actual NitroPack minor release, which I'm expecting any moment. So I would definitely hold my breath because it could come. I'd probably just doing final tests before releasing it. Okay, so we're going to want to iterate over the aliases we expose to Nitro. And I think we probably want to do this after. I think we probably would do it now. So for const alias of Nitro config alias, and we'll do in. We basically want to add this alias also to the tsconfig. So we do something like it here, where we basically create paths like this. And we can do that here. Okay. So we are doing this at this point, and we can basically say, what aliases did we exclude? I think that probably does make sense. Okay, although this really should not be, anyway, that should be fine. Okay, we're going to have to resolve our alias. This is if users have provided their own base URL. So this will be nitro config.typescript.tsconfig. We know that exists. but this might not. We know it exists because we've just initialized it to this value. So, okay, and we basically, right. This is the classic problem. Like TypeScript should know this works, but it never does. You always have to write a little bit of extra code to make it work. And this probably won't even work either. We probably have to do it like this. Really? Oh, now it just needs to be defined. So basically it has to be defined, right? We're iterating over it. And our tsconfig is actually Nitro config TypeScript. And I think we can actually we could do that. We could just define it. What's the matter here? Oh, and I should say this is going to be a super quick stream. It's like 50. I won't have time for a full hour, but it is dangerous. The reason I'm doing it is that I've actually just defined it here. So it would be better to refactor this, but basically the TypeScript we would need to write would be to tell Defu how to produce a merged version of this config, which respects the keys that we've passed in. So I'm not doing at the moment, but you're right. It is dangerous. But don't be very careful about it. Interesting. tsconfig could be, what are our options here? Oh, there we go. So yeah, well, it basically removes a protection. So it is dangerous. It is dangerous. But I mean, other ways are, you can check. But in this case, if TypeScript doesn't exist immediately after we have defined it, there's a bigger problem. There we go. Okay, so basically this will adopt the same logic as Nitro, as Nuxt, in creating the types. So let's just see if that does what we expect. Yeah, okay. We fell foul of some stuff. We defined something. Let's see, paths doesn't exist. We have to do that. In fact, I'm not quite sure why we're doing this in every iteration, but probably ought to fix that here as well. Great. Okay, so what have we done? We have a file and we have some paths, which we're resolving absolute paths to various aliases. So if in our server we were going to use an alias, import API from sort of util from it's accurately going to pull things in for us. So let's just, that should work. Some file, export const foo is bar. Should import from some server some file, and we should import foo, and we should return it. So if we're doing that, we should, should get the results when we hit API test. Boom. Okay, so our alias is now working. Hey, Brooker, nice to see you. So our alias is now working, and so immediately we have a much better setup. Good. Okay, the next thing, and this also means we have access to something like paths, and the imports I think is wrong. So we actually want this imports to pass to be set to the Nitro imports, and this is probably something we need to fix in Nitro itself. But basically, we want this to be, we want to use it like this. Hey, nice to see you. So this is pulling in all the view stuff, and we actually want this to point to the Nitro stuff. So let's see, do we actually have a generated Nitro imports? So this is what we want, but I'm not sure we're actually writing this anywhere in the Nitro context. So we need to do that. It needs to generate a file like this. So let's do that. And basically, there's a new imports config in Nitro. So all of these are the kinds of things we want to be able to access with hash imports. So we now have auto import. Okay, we're generating these things, but we also need to generate another. I think we might be able to do it in the same file. Let's see. So what we want to do here is, rather than exporting an empty object, can we somehow generate the exports? So const, is this rewritten at some point? It is. Okay. So we're going to say let auto import exports, and I guess that would be it's going to be an array of strings, and we're going to want to do something very similar. So what can we do here? Nitro unimport generate type declarations. We want, I think we do this in Nuxt, right? So we have imports.d.ts or .mjs there. And this one, we just do 2 exports. Okay, that's fine. And we pass it the argument of where it is. So we're going to say auto import exports equals Nitro unimport 2 exports, and we're going to pass in our build here types directory. Okay, and it's a string. Okay, that's fine. And we're just going to leave it undefined. And we can pop it down here into that, I think is probably quite clean. Let's see what this does. Nitro prepare playground. And so we should expect at this point to have a Nitro imports, which exports the files. And we need to resolve it somehow. As in, we need to resolve this alias. What am I doing? So we need to somehow tell Nitro to resolve this to its absolute path. And where are we doing that? We're importing all kinds of things from it. This points to the Nitro runtime directory, but don't ever use this in a project. It's hash internal for a reason. So we need to have an absolute path for it so that we can actually do the auto import from something that the end user's TypeScript is going to recognize. I wonder if we can just pass this in a little bit better. So map preset what have we got? We basically want to say if from is internal Nitro, we want to substitute the runtime directory. Or do we? No, we probably do want to auto import it. No, never mind that. We probably just want to change it in the type exports. So here, our auto imported types. Is there another option I can pass? I'm just going to replace it. With runtime, which I think is already defined. Excellent. And I think that's safe. Let's try that. Okay, so that should, this is probably not the best solution long term, but I just want to get it going. So we've got our Nitro imports and they are being exported from where we're expecting to find them. Let's see if we can just quickly push that up and see if it works in our playground as well. So import something from hash imports. Oh, this isn't defined in the alias. So we should probably do that as well. So in our Nitro config, we have our TS config. So we need to do this. Hash imports should be aliased to join typestir imports. Give that a try. And what's our TypeScript config? Nitro types, oh, not imports, but Nitro imports. Oh, I know, it does so much heavy lifting with regard to this kind of conditional object creation. What happened to that TypeScript config? Types, Nitro imports. Can we get this recognized? Does this need to be .js? We're referencing it here. I think we should be able safely to remove the internal Nitro alias. And we should be able to see this. What am I doing wrong? Is the issue that it is, in fact, a DTS file? We can handle that. So if I have a .js file, we could simply export all of this and Nitro imports. Does that now work? No. Why is this alias not working? Now, when we generate RTS configs here in Nuxt, we have very similar ones. That is a .mjs file, mind you. No, it's not. It's even a DTS file. So why would the path not resolve properly? Hey, thank you, Professor. Okay, Nitro. Tell me why this wouldn't resolve. Let's just confirm that exists. D.ts. We'll move this back into it. It's still there. I wonder if anything else is redefining it somewhere else. So, aha. No, that's just, that's code, that's not TypeScript. So what am I doing wrong here? I must be doing something wrong. Literally. Hey, Beansmate. Base URL maybe. But it should be fine because we don't have one. If I pass in a base URL, shouldn't make a difference. I'm working on improving type support in Nitro. So we have a couple of things within Nuxt when using server routes in Nuxt. So I want to be able to do things like this. If you have a server API route here, we need to be able to, for example, import test. Oops, this is not my project. This one, we need to be able to import using aliases. We need actually to const is server is process server. That does seem to be working. Process dev also seems to be working. But that might be leakage. Basically, we need to add an augmentation for process dev in Nitro as well. But this alias was the first step. And the way that that is working is that we have created this, this sort of paths mapping. If I remove it, I think it should stop working. Yeah, there we go. And things are failing now. But if we stick those aliases back, things are good. Except some of the aliases probably shouldn't exist in Nitro. We'll have to take a look at those specifically in a moment, but they all do exist in Nitro. All of these are being forwarded to Nitro. So probably we don't want viewRouter, for example, to be aliased, as in there's no legitimate reason and it will just confuse people. So maybe there are a couple of things we can fix. But anyway, what I'm trying to figure out right now is why, even when I pass an explicit hash imports, it doesn't allow me to import from it. So I think for the moment, this is fine. That is, oh, maybe that's it. No, it's not an index file. I think this is right. Let's see what it does to our type test, and maybe we can write a type test. Sometimes the IDE lies to us a little bit. Fix, generate imports types. So we need a types test, which should be in here. Where is it? Types. So we want to ensure that we have got this is probably a new block. So, okay, describe Nitro generated imports. And we'll actually use it here. So import from imports, and we're going to import, it seems to be working up here, great. Oh no, it doesn't. Import, what's an example of something from there that we want to test? How about we want to check for some internal and some external. So send redirect and maybe define Nitro plugin. Let's try that. So send redirect and define Nitro plugin. And we basically want to say that should be defined properly. And expect type of not, expect type of to not to be any. Okay, there we go. Not to be any. And we do the same with define Nitro plugin. And let's just run the test just in case our IDE is lying to us. But I'm a bit worried it's not lying to us. We do have an issue. Okay, that's all problematic. Let's actually test it in our they certainly do. Let's test it in our actual project. So the code here that we've added isn't huge. So I think we can actually just very, very quickly try it out in our next project and see if that is the right thing. So node modules, node modules, Nitro pack. Oh, hello. Node modules, Nitro pack, dist index.mjs is probably where we want to be. And we're interested in unimport. So we want to have let auto imported exports, whatever it is, be set there. And then we want to stick it down here as this. Okay, so that's, I think, all we need to do to test it. So if we prepare our playground again, one issue, that the hash imports that we are providing is overriding it. So we do want to prevent that from happening. Basically, we want to exclude hash imports from our aliases that we pass across to Nitro. Oh, that's the other thing we have to do. We actually have to add the alias from the Nitro side. What did we do? We added that in the ts config. There we go. Try it once more. Great. Now we actually have the types and what's happening in our project. It is actually working. So this is actually, so it might just be something to do with the Nitro project that the monorepo set up, but these are all the Nitro exports, proper exports. So let's see why the type test is failing. So our ts config is generating from here. We have our hash imports. Do we at any point define a base URL or something? We do. If I drop that, does it work? No. For goodness sake. Why would I not have? Let me remove the test and just see whether the existing tests are passing once I have commented all of that code out. No, it doesn't. We do actually need it. So we need it in the root package.json probably. Which extends from, that's weird. Oh no, this is test, the type test is failing on those imports. So this is actually not something an end user would experience at all. But we probably need to update this to imports like this. And instead, add them back, but we're going to use relative paths to say no, we'll keep those, but we'll add maybe, what happens if we when I'm talking about a monorepo, I'm just talking about because that happens to be this particular code base for Nuxt. And Nitro is also a monorepo, even though technically it's only one package. So I do like monorepos though. I like it because they're sort of stuff's co-located, so you can things like types flow across. You can be working on multiple packages at the same time, particularly if they relate to each other. It makes a big difference. Great. Can they be a pain? I think anything could be a pain when working with a team, but it's up to, I think, how you set them up. I haven't found that personally they are a pain. But yeah, that's totally up to you. Yes, archetype. That was so much fun. Thank you, Finite Singularity. It was great. I was really glad to catch you. Okay. Right. I mean, this is what I want. I want to be able to import. Okay, archetype. You tell me. So I need you. Basically because it is unclear to me why this isn't working. I have defined a path, an alias here, that points to a TypeScript declaration file. And this does not work in this project, but it does work in another project. So I am not entirely sure why that is the case. I wonder if it's module resolution mode. Could it be that? No? It is very peculiar. We'll take a 10-minute break in 4 minutes, and then I will come back. Yeah, configuring TypeScript is no fun. And actually using it programmatically, like if you want to extract an AST or something like that, it is a pain. Like someone like Johnson, who does all the magic with Volar, he is, I admire that a lot. It's tough. It's not a straightforward thing to dive into at all. Okay, well let's revert these changes to the TS configs. But basically this is what we want to do. And it works in our end project. So I think it's more important right now that we get this up as a PR before we release Nitro, and we can work on fixing the type fixture within the project as well. So fix, generate types for hash imports, and also we should probably ensure that our config is, well, these are defaults, so I guess we can't do that. Okay, right. Generate types for imports. We're just going to publish that and open a pull request. Come on, what's going on here? pushed. It's just test, but it should be here, right? I always forget to run lint fix in the UnJS code bases. They have a totally different lint expectation from the one that I expect. Git log, git push. Yeah, no, that's a very nice. Very nice thing. Okay. Good. Okay, let's go back to the next project that we're working on. So we basically, with the hash imports, we are getting everything we want in terms of augmentations, although that's not great, it's leaking. But we do have some issues in that in our generated TS config, we actually have a little bit more, I think, than we want by way of import paths. So we don't, all the directory aliases are fine, but we probably don't want to include the view app, view demi, or view router in our generated, like we don't want to expose that to the end user, because although they need to exist within the Nitro process as aliases, we, I think, still exclude them. So basically we want to exclude hash view router, view demi, hash app, and actually some of these we can actually just directly hit. Some RE, type of RE equals string, alias equals RE, or we can then define this as strings. There we go. And we'll rename it to be not RE, but pattern. And then we can drop this. Assets in public, I guess we keep. Okay, so that's the first piece, which I think will give us the types we want. Let's see. Great. Imports, paths. Great. Okay, now we want to add our own augmentations, which I was thinking was process dev, but I think this resolves that. No, it doesn't. Excellent. It doesn't, because it's now not leaking anymore now that we've changed those aliases. So we want to provide an augmentation for the other things that we do. So we have some replacements. So process.env, so all of these replacements, for example, we need to declare specifically this, I guess that, but I think it's just process dev that really matters. So we can add that as a reference. Absolutely, it is nice. Um, like it makes building modules and so on so much faster than otherwise. Oh, rats! We should take that 10-minute break, and I will see you all in a second. Sorry, I have a call. That's why. But it's only 10 minutes, so I'll see you all in a bit. Okay, I am back. I am back. So, what are we doing? Are people still here? What's even happening? So we're just having a look at adding augmentations of our own in our configuration, and probably the way we're going to have to do this is through adding something to the include. So I think we can probably create our own declaration, which we either generate or we. And I think it probably makes sense to generate rather than hard code it. It's going to give us more flexibility for that later. So in our project, we generate a nux.d.ts file, and I think we're going to want to generate another one. Okay. And we're searching in the Nuxt folder. Okay, so we're going to want not Nuxt components. Nuxt core, Nuxt here. So we're going to add a template that we generate for Nitro types, basically. We'll basically say add template types. Sorry, file name is going to be types Nitro Nuxt, maybe. And then the contents for the moment is going to be incredibly straightforward. It's just going to be, we're just going to augment process. So like this. Come on. Oh. Yeah. This is what we want. So we just want to augment the dev process.dev, and we're going to be able to do it with this code. So there we go. So that should be good enough. And we are going to need to add that then as a to the include array of our generated Nitro TS config file. So if we head back here and we basically have our TS config, we'll just say at this point include, and we're going to point to this file. So join Nuxt options build the types Nitro Nuxt. Let's see if that works for us. Yeah, done. Okay, and that will give us the ability to do a lot more as well down the line. So I think basically we can put this up as, once we fix that type issue, we can basically say what happens if I do that? No error, because we're basically coercing it. What's the issue here? Oh, is the issue that the issue is imports are incompatible, specifically that null is not assignable to Boolean or undefined. So if I were to define this as null, we have an error. If I define it as undefined, we're fine. So I could basically say that's Boolean or undefined. We are typing process variables. When working, I normally don't take a lot of breaks, honestly. I've got a sort of limited window when in the middle of the day when I can work. I even sort of get I have a cup of soup for lunch, for example, and I have that while tinkering it with something. Weird. Yeah, no, I've got some here even. This is the remainder of my soup for lunch. It's the sort of but it's so nice actually. I mean, I wouldn't do it at a dinner table, but it works quite well if you're working. This is very strange. I guess it's the explicit undefined that's throwing it. So it either wants it to be just absent. I think that's what we're going to have to say. Okay. Okay, so we've done it. We've added the augmentation for the process variable. We have fixed an unrelated issue where we were basically running some code we didn't need to run in an iteration. And this should all be backwards compatible. So if we can merge it as is, because this isn't going to affect anyone who's already using it. It is bought at Tesco, but it wasn't carrot. It was tomato and basil with a lot of chili powder added on top of it. So let me see. Okay, so I think this is good. We probably need to extract utility. Okay, and the rest we'll leave unchanged because this is really just testing. So cool. Oh, we do need to just confirm whether the issue down here, I think that is solely due to the fact that we're using a different version of rollup. Okay, so we're going to say fix nuxt or fix nuxt, add aliases and augmentations for Nitro context. Fix Nitro type context, and there we go. It might not work until Nitro is released. Let's see what Booyah has. Not quite sure what this means. Hey Reba. Nice to see you. Okay, so next we can create our pull request. Alvaro, nice to see you. I have a better solution for next time you want to come on stream, by the way. Just so you know, you don't need to be put off by it. Okay. For aliases that exist in the Nitro context and augmentation. Excellent, and we can specifically resolve these issues. It's always very satisfying when we resolve an issue, I find. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, so I think that is probably good enough for now. Let me just see if there's anything, oh, it's just code coverage. It must be broken, right? Oh, it's merged. Code coverage is actually green, but it's actually listed as a fail. That kind of thing really annoys me. I guess it's just this particular commit. It's very strange. That is beautiful. I'm really glad that's merged so quickly. We can always fix it if that's the wrong solution. But it means we probably could test it with the next Edge release. But I'm not going to make you wait for that. Let's look at something else. Okay, you can close. Great. Issues. Oh, this is, by the way, also fine, but it requires the latest version of NitroPack, which should be out very shortly. Okay, what else might we want to implement? Oh, this is another bug that will also be fixed by it. So anyone else have anything you want me to dive into? Got a few minutes, we can solve something. That is a very it's a very good question, but it's very tricky. Oh, go on. What would you say then? Oh, there definitely is, and you definitely have questions. Is Nextbridge being maintained and improved? It is certainly. So we even have an issue. We're about to release it as a release candidate. And there's some tremendous work being done by particularly Watanks. So if you ever look at the commits for Bridge, there's a lot of very cool stuff that's going on, and a lot of that is totally attributable to them. So please, some applause for them would be very much welcome. This is Arc. If you want to try it out, it's I can get you an invite code. Oh no, I can't. But I'm sure somebody can get you an invite code if you want. That's very nice of you to say. Let's see. Code base, sometimes we paste template nodes, but no occurrences of passing script content. So basically, I think I've done this. I don't know if I've done it within the Nuxt code base or not, but basically, okay, here's a couple. So this is a regular expression to grab the content of a script tag and then pass it. So this is exactly what you were looking for. So basically check out this file here. It is. So basically this. Oh, the build failure is deliberately is expected until we update Nitro pack, until it's released, basically. So we can probably just add a TS expect error to cover us in the meantime. Yes, the parser is available in the context of the transform method. You are probably going to want to use this package, where we use pass from TypeScript ES tree. And this file here is what you're going to want to have a look at in terms of parsing something that's not within the context of a Vite transform, because it's going to have to run it like in the module context. Okay. Okay, so let's see. Does import ordering matter in Vue? In general, it does not. Well, it matters as much as in JavaScript, which is that imports are hoisted to the top anyway. And if they have side effects, then it does matter. But in general, most of what you're doing doesn't have side effects. So I don't know if that answers your question, but let's see if I can just quickly. What was the issue? It didn't build. Let's see. Oh, it vanished. It gets too hot. But I promise I haven't disappeared, really. Okay, right. Let's see what else we can do. We should have some issues here that we can dive into. So looking at a good first issue. Okay, this is what you're already working on as Chronostones. And this one has a $500 bounty on it, by the way, if anyone ever fancies taking a look at it. Basically, Drew very kindly put down a bounty on this issue, and I don't want to take it because I want it to go to somebody else. But it should be a relatively straightforward issue. It's not a complex thing to do. I thought it probably you could be done in about 15 lines of code. So if you fancy, that's a pretty high ratio of like lines of code to solution. I've added some comments about like how to tackle it, like what we want to have. So I would totally check that out. It's good. I want it to be there. It's very possible to do. We could probably do it on a stream, but what's the point in that, right? Anyway, someone do that. That would be great. Any specific good way to manage GitHub repositories as a team leader? Like if you have lots of them, or like if you're managing a specific one repository and you want to do it well as a leader. So I think I would say that the main thing you have to do with it as a team leader is to focus on the people. Like that is more important than the infrastructure. Having said that, like obviously taking that for granted, your focus on people is like it's there. But now you want to do other things. I would focus in that case on things that unblock developers. So the pain points they're facing, you solve in advance. So you're freeing them up to work, to sort of be productive and to feel good about themselves. If there are patterns that you want to implement across a team, I really recommend writing ESLint plugins or writing like generators that will generate new code. Like for example, if you have a component pattern you want people to adopt, write a generator so people can just say, you're right, it does, context makes a huge difference. So you want people to start adopting a different pattern. You can actually create the template and sort of figure out how ideally things should be and encourage people to use it. And so it makes their lives easier and it also helps you apply best practice. I would basically say I personally prefer sort of more agile method of iterating quickly. So not blocking people. You might consider things like stacked PRs if you need to have sort of long projects. I would use something like change sets to sort of manage the releases. I'd probably have independent versioning of packages in the monorepo, so everything isn't lockstep. But a lot of this is very specific to the project you're working on. Okay, so server components, if you're use async data inside the server component, then that will be a problem. As in, it will then add it to the payload. So you probably don't want to do that. In fact, that's an interesting point. We probably could say, if use async data is being called in a server component, it shouldn't add it to the payload. I think that would be a reasonable default. That would be a reasonable default. but it's also very difficult to enforce. So just this morning, there's some server component improvements in this release, the 3.6, that's going to have. Yeah, this is a way not to add it. You just don't use async data. You just use $fetch to get the data. Use an async setup. So I just this morning was doing this on my own personal website in order to test it out. So basically, yeah, for a server component, remember it's only getting called on the server and it's only being called once. So normally async data and use fetch is to pass data from server to client, but you don't need that with a server component. So you can just directly use whatever async methods you need in the script setup of that component, and it just works automatically. So yeah, don't use async data, I think, is the answer. If you must, you can always delete it from the payload. But I would be asking why you're using it at all, because it doesn't add anything on the server. But we might look at some DX for improving that. Hey, well, this is actually very much Nitro within Nuxt, so it is actually all Nuxt. But oh, excellent! I see the PRs going in. Why is that fail? Code coverage. This is ridiculous. Anyway, what am I looking for? I am looking for the latest Nitro Pack version. Okay. Oh, I think we probably also need one more thing. No, you can add an RFC without specific code, but it often helps if you can give some information about what it should be, like what the behavior should be, or what it should be like to use the project. Just want to check that the PR that I've made does in fact solve this one as well. Hey, Aussie boy. Doesn't fully solve it. Maybe there's a better way of doing this here, because at the moment we iterate over the aliases at this point, whereas maybe we can iterate over them a little bit more after the config is extended. So basically we could do something like this. Here, so do it at the final stage, and if it already exists, we carry on. So we could basically say like this. Okay. And I think we also want to do one more thing, which is, so we could say fix allow users to extend aliases. Good. Okay, so let's see what else we have to dive into. Least recently updated. Okay. Oh, that's a 2x. Source map client hidden. Redirect loops. Root accessibility announcer. Granular configuration of bundles. Extending from Git. This is tricky because it doesn't seem that there's an easy way of handling that. Okay, let's try this one. This is a CLI one though. And actually, I think someone else is looking at it. There's a huge amount of flakiness in our CI at the moment, which I think is being resolved upstream in Nitro. On basically, there's on Nitro, the Windows dev server can basically be on if it's under load and there are multiple requests coming on at the same time. The underlying node exists sync file system method that just throws errors and breaks the server, which is a terrible pain. And I think we have a better solution, which is to use access sync, but we'll see. Depends what you think is the fun part, but it's possible. It's possible you've missed the fun part. We have done some interesting stuff. Which is basically setting up a lot of the Nitro TS config, which will, I think, improve DX and also stop errors, stop potential bugs from creeping into code. Okay, let's have a look at another issue. Seems reasonable. Oh, there is one idea that I would love to do, and that is server pages. And basically it might not be that difficult. So this is the concept of what, and this comes out of me adopting server components on my personal website, which, by the way, huge performance improvements. It's amazing how snappy it is. But basically, if you have something like pages index and about, say, always seems to be what I'm doing. What if one of them is fully static and you don't actually want to do anything with it? So it's just going to load once and it's just static HTML. I think I've had supporting something like a .server endpoint, like suffix in the file name, would be really what you want. Anyway, but I think probably we don't have time for that today, so I will have a look another time. Today, I think I'm going to have to say goodbye. because I have something else at the moment very shortly. But it's been a really fun stream. Thank you. Oh, I'm glad. I'm really, really glad. Yes, NPM does free up package names. You typically have to contact the original package owner. If they don't respond, they just can't be contacted, then NPM can unfree them up. But anyway, thank you all. And yeah, talk to you later. We'll do this another time. Bye.